Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates, with your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Hi, and welcome to Spectrum Perspectives. Today, I'm going to interview Johanna Burke, and she is a special needs attorney, but she's also the mom of a son with severe autism. And today, she's going to share her story with you. She's going to talk about her son and also about her nonprofit and how she helps families as an attorney.
Aidan only has a behavior now if something medically is wrong with him and he can't tell you. If he's got a headache, an ear infection, a sore throat, a stomach ache,
right,
or if his anxiety is so severe,
right,
he lashes out.
Right. So now this is a problem we came up with in the group home because we assumed the same thing with Robbie. Like we could tell by his behavior. My husband's like, he's got a headache or something, and he would just give him Tylenol and then he would calm down and he'd feel better. Right. But in a group home, you can't do that. You can't.
Yes, you can.
Oh, see, I'm told no, you can't give over the counter stuff unless they write a prescription, and prescriptions are a whole issue in group homes.
They're not. Again, not if you have me as a mommy.
See?
Yeah.
See, where were you?
Aidan has a prescription for Motrin because
Right.
Aidan had a PRN for Ativan, and they would give it to him as needed when he got upset. I just found out from the friggin' agency, oh, we're doing away with that, Mrs. Burke. Oh, yeah? Well, then you're going to get
PRNs?
the PRN. So I have to talk to the doctor this week to see if there's an anxiety med I can keep him on every day, which I don't really want to do. But for now, they're giving him Motrin. He had an episode yesterday. They gave him Motrin. Within 20 minutes, he was calm.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's medications were a whole big pain in the neck. And then, one time Robbie broke his foot. We don't know what happened, but I think his foot rolled over and he broke the bone on the outside of his foot, and he was in pain. So they took him to the doctor and found out that he broke this bone. I took him, and they put him in a cast. So they had to move him into a different home that was wheelchair accessible, but he didn't, because he certainly wasn't going to use crutches, so the only way to keep him off was to put him in a wheelchair, which he thought the wheelchair was fun, but he would just get up and walk out of the wheelchair and stuff. And for this Stunad staff to try to get him to stay in the wheelchair, to wheel him out to the bus, and it's the middle of winter and he's got bare feet, his toes sticking out of the cast, I'm like, anyway, the cast didn't work too because he would wet himself and it would get wet. So that came off, and they put him in a boot, right? So, okay, so he's got a boot. So put a sock on the kid and then put his boot on, but they were wheeling him out with bare feet. They'd let him just get up out of the wheelchair and run to the bus. Like they were like, oh my God. It was just a nightmare.
I get it. I totally get it. I see it in so many group homes where my clients
are. So many untrained people, and the staff overturns all the time because it's this minimum wage job that I think when they take the job, they don't realize it's going to be as hard as it is. And so then they quit.
Right.
It's a disaster. We need you to fix the whole system.
Actually, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. I'm working on passing and drafting legislation to address training and certification requirements for all direct support staff in group homes in New Jersey and increase their wages so they have a career path.
Yeah, absolutely. They need it. And I was explaining this to somebody that was running for governor. He met with a bunch of moms that all had autistic kids. And he's like, he was just floored at this whole situation. And he's like, wait, so they're giving these kids meds and they're just low income employees with no training and they're giving them their meds. We're like, oh yeah. He's like, a nurse isn't doing it. We're like, no. But because of that is kind of why I'm glad that they can't even give them a Tylenol unless it's written in a prescription and everything is prepackaged, because I don't trust them because they don't know what they're doing, because they'll just end up giving them Benadryl every night just to slow them down and knock them out and put them to sleep. You don't know what people would do. You know what I mean?
I know.
You can't. So, or I think they're worried about staff taking the meds.
Oh, that's another one.
I'm just guessing why it's so locked down. You know what I mean? Who knows? I don't know.
I don't know.
So, okay. So tell me so he went into the group home. Was he still going to school or
Oh
no?
yeah. He's in one of the top private schools down in South Jersey, an
Oh, really?
autism program. And for the first time, my son has learned to communicate on a talker with touch chat. And for the first time in 18 years, he is able to tell the teacher and his staff at the group home what he feels. And I was there Saturday, and the supervisor brought out the talker, and she says, Aidan, mommy wants to know how you feel. And he said, I feel happy.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yay, that's what you want. That's what mommy wants. So I've heard moms say that that when they do learn to communicate, it's usually just I want, like I want juice, I want cracker, like not talking about their feelings though. That's sort of like next level.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'm involved with his IEP too.
Gee, no kidding.
And I pick it apart and I'm like, this is what the goal is. This is what you need to do. And like, I specifically told them, I go, I want to know how he feels every day. And they send it to me in an email. And the teacher asks him in the morning, his speech therapist asks him 3 times a week. I get a summary email from his speech therapist, what they worked on, how he feels. I get a template email every day from his teacher. How was toiling? What did he eat? What did he ask for? Did he have any aggressive behaviors? And how did he feel today?
Oh, that's awesome. So you're really on top of it. Yeah. Which is great. Yeah. And that probably gives you some peace of mind too, because he's 2 hours away from you too. This way you have a better idea of what's going on every day. I mean, it's smart. Just Robbie would go off to school, every day, and I didn't know what was going on. And we didn't have cell phones back then, so they would write in a notebook to me, but it was basic stuff. It wasn't all of that information. So
yeah. Plus Aidan's teacher is amazing, and we text back and forth, like if there's a real issue or if he's really happy, she takes pictures for me and she sends it.
Oh, that's nice.
And the group home does that too. They took him bowling. I saw my son throw a bowling ball with the help of his staff. He's never done that in his life.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Aidan never did anything. I couldn't take Aidan now into the community.
Well, Robbie's school used to take the class bowling. So he did that from when he was young. So that was something that they did. And they have a special ramp. Did he have that? No.
Nope.
They use it for little kids where you put the ball on top of the ramp and then it rolls down. And
Yeah.
So that was one thing Robbie knew how to do.
Aidan has lots of firsts being at his group home. So
yeah,
it's amazing.
This is good because a lot of parents really fear that the words group home, and they think that it's they think it's going to be an awful experience and something that they would never want to do with their child.
No, I said that. I said it. I'll never put Aidan in a group home. Well, guess what? Things change. Shit happens. Excuse my language. And you get to the point, and I tell clients or moms that call me all the time, how did you know that you were ready to do that? I said, I was physically, mentally, and emotionally shocked. I was numb. I'll never forget the day I dropped Aidan off at the group home. I was just numb. I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience. They took him in, they showered him, they put clothes on, and they laid him on his bed. And I walked in there, and I gave him his blanket from home that he used to sleep on, and he was sleeping, and the staff was sitting at the end of his bed because he has 24-hour supervision. And I kissed him and I told him goodbye. And I went in the car and drove home with my future new husband, and I didn't cry. I just kind of stood there looking out the window with this glazed look on my face. And I had brought my best friend to drop her daughter off the year before in a group home. And I had to drive her and her other daughter home, and all they did was sob. And I couldn't understand why wasn't I crying? Why? And I came home and I sat on the floor and I didn't move. And I was just like in, I guess, a state of shock. And it took me a couple of days for it to sink in. And then the tears just, they come fast and furious. And you would think after him being there 3 years, you would get used to it, but you never do, because for me, I only get to see him for 2 hours a week. It's not enough time. It's not enough time. And when I see him, I hold on to him so tight and I hug him and I smell him. I smell him and I say to myself, God, please let it last for another week. Please let it last. And there's like a piece of my heart that has this overwhelming sadness in it. And I don't think it will ever go away, no matter how well he is doing, no matter how successful he is and how much progress he is making. It'll always be there, and it can be overcome, but it's so hard to live with that every day and then do everything else that you're supposed to do and take care of your other kids and try to keep a marriage together and, you know, all of this. And, you know, I just, it's that sadness. Like, even with all those happy pictures I posted and I take videos of him and I watch the videos the next day and I cry because I'm not there. I'm not there. So.
Well, the thing is, Robbie, he was our baby and he was always our baby, you know? So even though he was in his 20s, he still wore a pull-up. He still had to, you know, you had to shower him, take care of him, wipe his butt, you know, you had to do everything that you do with a baby, with a toddler. Right. And right. So you still have that connection that you have with a baby that needs you all the time. And when he went into the group home, I tried to explain to people, I said, listen, normally you put your kid in nursery school for a couple hours, a couple days a week. Then they go to kindergarten half days every day. Then they go to full days. Then as they get a little older, they're in middle school. Then they start playing sports. And then and then high school, it's like the days are extended longer and longer that you're spending this time away from your child, right? And then they learn, then when they get their license and then they're off driving, it's like now, you know, it's this gradual separation, and they're getting older and older, and they start getting more obnoxious. And they're teenagers, and you want, okay, you're ready to go. And so that by the time college comes, it's like, see ya, you know, I'm ready for you to go, right? Right. But you jump with Robbie, it went right from baby to out of the house. And it's like, I haven't been able to pull away gradually, you know, emotionally. And I think that's why it's so heart-wrenching. Like, I mean, when he went, I came home and I wailed and cried like a death. It was just because you're so attached as a mother that it's just, I never had that chance to gradually keep pulling away from Robbie emotionally and detaching from him. He was still that baby that needed all my care. And not only that, usually babies are only baby for a year, and then they're a toddler, then they're a 2-year-old, but he never moved out of that baby stage, toddler stage, for, you know, 20 years that he was that baby. So I feel like that's why it's such a strong attachment to these kids, because it's just gets, you know, you never get out of that baby phase. So to go from that to boom, you're going to go live on your own in a group home, it's, you know, it's very heart, it's a lot of emotions going on there, you know, very, very heart-wrenching, you know, that I don't think people can understand. Again, unless you go through it, you don't really understand.
That's a really great perspective. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, I had to figure it out myself, you know, what was really going on. So, because my other son, you know, he went off to college, and it's like, okay, see you, you know. but it was like I was ready to have a break, you know. But yet I knew that David was prepared for this now. He's gradually gotten older. He's gradually gotten more mature. I've taught him things that I know he needs to know before he can go out on his own,
Right. Right.
and you gradually get used to him not being around, so yeah, and then you add on top of it that they can't speak, and it's not like you can't ask them, how was your day? So I think that's great that he's using communication. Aidan, that's so great. At least gives you some feeling of security, right?
It does.
Yeah. So when did you decide to become a special needs attorney?
In 2013, I created my LLC, and because of Aidan. Aidan is the reason I decided to start practicing. He's the reason why I fight for all my families just as hard as I fight for my son. And I get such a great joy out of helping people. People get the services that they need, because every child with a disability needs a chance to reach their best potential. And I understand that. I get it better than everyone because I live it. I live it with my son, and that's the way it should be. And there's so many attorneys out there, they don't get it. It doesn't affect them. It doesn't affect their life. And that's why I decided to do it. And I was only doing it part-time because I was working full-time at Pearson Education, because that job enables me to work 8:30 to 4:30. I'd be home by 5. And then the therapist, we had a therapist in our house every single day of the week. The therapist would leave at 5 and I would take over from 5 p.m. till I put Aidan on the bus at 8 o'clock in the morning. But there wasn't enough money coming in. And I know this is such a huge financial struggle for everyone in this situation. One parent's got to stay home, or you got to hire somebody to take care of the kid. Aidan's father stayed home due to unforeseen circumstances, and he was the extra body to get Aidan off the bus at 3. And then when I came home, it was my job to take care of Aidan. So I started the legal practice part-time, and I helped so many families, and it was great. And then I started my nonprofit, Fight for Autism, in 2014, again, because of Aidan. Aidan motivates me to do everything that I do for the special needs population. I really, truly believe Aidan was given to me for a reason, and he's here to make a difference in this world. And that's why God chose me to be his mother. Mm-hmm. And that's how I live my life. And I also believe that everything happens for a reason. There's always a reason, even the bad stuff that happens. And this is where we're meant to be at this particular point in your life because of everything else that happened and brought us here. So that's why I started my legal practice. And I just started it full time, believe it or not, in March of this year.
Oh.
So it's only been about 6 months because I struggled for a year trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my career. I didn't practice for 20 years, and I took care of my family, and then, when I placed Aidan, I not only lost Aidan, I lost my younger son because I went through a horrible divorce, and he blamed me for everything and chose to live with his father. So I didn't have anybody to take care of anymore. And that, I'm like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with myself. I would have anxiety every single day. I woke up, I had crying episodes. I have a psychiatrist, I have a therapist. I've been in therapy for 20 years and been on medication for 20 years. And it was very hard to get used to that. It took me a year. And then I finally said, you know what, I'm going to do it. I'm going to take this up. I was very overwhelmed. I have no money. All my money's gone from the divorce. Everything that I saved, because I was the primary breadwinner. That's how New Jersey state law works. And I started from nothing. but I'm so happy to say I'm getting more and more clients every day, and people are finding out about me, and they want me as their lawyer because I get it. And I talk to them just like I talk to you, and I tell them my story about Aidan, and you need to do this. I'm talking to you as a mom now. We need to get this service for him, and things like that. So I love it. I love getting up every day and doing what I do. And I've never, ever felt that way in my 52 years on this earth. So it's a great feeling.
It's like you found your purpose and your calling.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's happening to me too. My life has changed just over the past since March as well, just by releasing the children's books and then starting to do podcasts, and my focus is all on autism, where I was out of the loop for 10 years. It's like now all of a sudden it's like my main focus is helping parents and moms of special needs, kids with autism. And it's like and it's a big shift.
Well, I have to say that I purchased your 3 books and after I talked to you several weeks ago, and they're sitting here in my office on my desk here, and I every time I look at them, I start to cry. So
I was going to say, I know you're going to cry when you read the last one.
I haven't read them yet. So you're going to read them now? Wait, so Cindy, wait. So I sit here and I look at them every day.
Yes.
I'm like, oh, I love these. And then I'm like, I go to open a page and I'm like, I can't.
Oh, you're definitely going to cry, but you're going to have to work yourself up to being able to handle it. I know what I was going to say was, because our lives were very stressful all the time, very high stress level. And you're like me now, where all of a sudden all the stress is out of the house, right? I do so many things now between, writing the books and illustrating the books and the podcast. And I try to work, I run a business too. This is like running 2 businesses at the same time. And now I'm going to do my mom's retreat in October too. So let's add a 3rd business on top of it. Right. And everybody's like, how do you do so much stuff? I don't understand. Don't you ever sleep? I'm like, I just had this conversation the other day with somebody. I said, you don't understand what my life has been like. Okay. I didn't work just a regular 9-to-5 job and come home and have dinner and sit down and watch TV the rest of it. Like, that's not my life. I live a very high stress level my whole life. So if I don't have that, I'm very bored. Like, I get bored so easily. Like, I need to have lots of projects and stuff to do and people to help and all that. Otherwise you just, and I feel like you and I, like, it's like God wired us that way,
Yes. Exactly.
Like, I'm going to put you through all this stress because now you're so strong and you can handle so much that now you can help other people, and you're not going to get overwhelmed by every little thing. You're like, nope, this is what we got to do. Let's get it done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I like to be kept busy. Right. I don't like downtime.
Right.
I don't want to have downtime to think about anything. So I'm like nonstop doing this, doing that. And then I'm like, okay, 6:30, 7 o'clock. All right, well, I guess I could take a break now. And
Yep.
But,
so you just got remarried, right?
No, not yet.
Oh, not yet?
Engaged.
Oh, you're engaged. Okay.
I'm engaged. I'm getting married in October in Vegas.
That's right. Yes. So how is the fiance with Aidan?
Frank, that's his name, has an autistic son.
Oh.
And Frank hired me to be his special needs attorney for his son 3 years ago. And that's how we met.
Got it.
We live in the same town. Our kids went to the same autism program together and the same out of district program. And for 18 years, our paths never crossed.
Oh, you're kidding.
No, I'm not kidding. It's kind of like we were destined to come together.
Right.
And so Frank hires me in January. In March, he professes his undying love for me. and I'm like, whoa, wait. and I just gotta say, I was not in a good marriage. Okay,
Mhm.
it wasn't good. It was over 12 years ago, and I stayed because I needed an extra body to help with Aidan.
Mhm.
And because I wanted my kids to know their father. I grew up in a divorced family. And so Frank was not the reason. I planned on doing what I wanted to do after I placed Aidan. But so we fell together, and I said I wanted a divorce, and I moved in with Frank, and that was 3 years ago. Frank was married 18 years to a psycho, and they have, my future stepson has autism. He's also in a group home down by Aidan, a 3-hour, 15 minutes away. And so Frank and I get it. Like, we live the same life. But Frank was always working 3 jobs because his wife stayed home at the time. And, I swore I'll never do it again. I'll never get married again. How do people get married again? And then I met Frank.
Mhm. Right.
So, yeah, so I'm very excited.
Yeah.
October 22nd.
Good for you. So my first few interviews that I did, all the moms had been divorced. They all were single moms. So then I brought in a divorce attorney and I interviewed her to talk about things that women should just do to prepare ahead of time, just financially and things like that,
Yeah.
So I'm happy to hear that this is sort of the other side of that now, that there is life after divorce, and you can find someone again, and somebody that gets you and gets it, so don't lose hope.
Yeah, never lose hope. That's my thing. I tell all new moms or other moms who are struggling, always have hope. Always have hope. I'll have hope till the day I die that Aidan will say, I love you, mommy, or that Aidan will say, hi, mom, or that Aidan will independently go to the bathroom on his own. I always have hope. And never give up. I tell them, never give up. Some days are going to be like, autism kicks your ass. Open up a bottle of wine, because that's what I used to do. While both children are running amok at 11 o'clock at night, I'm sipping my wine, and I'm like, it is what it is. Autism wins. When I get up the next morning, I'm going to fight again. And that's that. You take one day at a time. I used to take 1 hour at a time. Some days were so bad, I'm just like, Joe, in my head, you can do it an hour. You can do it an hour. And then you'd make it to an hour. You got to do it another hour, Joe. So I'm like, okay, all right, I can do it. I can make it till I drug him up with his meds and he'll go to sleep for a couple of hours. And, so yeah, you got to always have hope.
Take one day at a time. Tell me more about your nonprofit.
My nonprofit fundraises monies at various events during the year, and then we give back to families living with autism to help them pay for whatever they need: respite care, after school care, therapies, trampolines, iPads, communication devices, prescription costs, anything they need. And I started that because I had been a big fundraiser for Autism Speaks. None of the money ever came back to help me and Aidan. So I said, all right, I'm going to do it. And I did it. And since 2015, when we really got going to right before COVID hit,
what's the name of the nonprofit?
It's Fight for Autism.
Is that the number 4? Fight
number 4
autism?
Okay. Yeah. And we have raised close to $200,000 and helped over 90 families in New Jersey.
Wow. Yeah, well, when I've done fundraisers too, I always, nothing against Autism Speaks, but it's just exactly like you said, a lot of the money goes to corporate, how much of it actually goes to the kids. So I would always encourage people to give more locally. So I would have them give it to the Hope Autism Foundation, because they ran my son's day program, so I knew that it went to help the young adults in the day program, and the money would specifically go to them. So I just think that that's important to let people know there's lots of local autism foundations and stuff that need your help. So
yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, Johanna, we've been on Johanna. I'm sorry. All right, Johanna, thank you for being here. We've been on, I could talk to you all day. I have to stop it after a while. So, so I'm having my autism retreat October 15th, 16th, 17th. You're going to be there. You're going to join us. You're going to be there as a mom, but also as one of my guest speakers. So I'm happy to have you there. And then the week after that, you're flying to Vegas. Vegas, baby.
I just want to thank you so much for having me on today. And I'm so very grateful that I met you and I got connected with you, because you are just simply amazing. And I so admire your strength and what you do, because I don't know if I'd be able to do it after what you've been through. And so I just want to say that to you.
I know, don't start talking about it because you're gonna cry.
Okay, all right. I'm going out to get a drink now.
All right, good. I can't wait. We're at the retreat. We're definitely having a drink together.
Yeah.
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, that's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. To see the video version of the show, go to our YouTube channel, Robbie and Me, Autism Reality. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.